Hello, everyone, and welcome to Milsurp World Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron. Joining me today is Danny, Owen, and Mark. Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey,
Sorry. I had to do it, Mark. Sorry.
he's gonna be, yeah, he's over it. He was over it last week.
Yeah. Is he here still? Owen and Danny are here. Mark's not answering. Yeah, he
Oh
might have
yeah,
disappeared.
no, he's in Maine, so his internet's in and out, I think,
Yeah,
a little
he's
bit.
almost in Canada, so we'll give Mark a little bit of
Yeah.
the doubt. But
He has no excuse. I'm less than 15 miles from the Canadian border. No excuse.
Oh, wait, what state are you in again? You're like Dakotas or something?
No, I'm up in Washington State.
Yeah, that's like that's a different sort of Canadians up there.
Very much
that's
so.
one of Danny's favorite states. It was one of the best Milsurp places, right, Danny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my favorite. Some of my favorite gun shows ever. I don't know what it was.
I don't know either, but when I heard you say that on the previous podcast, I was in full agreement with that.
Well, Owen,
Yeah.
since you are new to the podcast, why don't you go ahead and give yourself an introduction of where you discovered Milsurps and what led you to them?
So I guess really it kind of started off with my grandfather. Growing up, he was a World War II veteran. He was stationed in Germany just right after the war. He was in boot camp at the time that the war ended. But when I was a kid, we would watch World War II movies. I think one of my favorite ones that we would watch is Where Eagles Dare, Clint Eastwood.
Yep, classic.
Seeing all those MP40s and things like that, I just always had a love for military firearms. And then as I got older, as probably a lot of people in their 20s and 30s, grew up playing a lot of video games, Call of Duty, the original Call of Duties, and seeing all of the guns in there. And so that's kind of where it all started for me, was all those historic guns in the video games. And then back towards the end of 2019, right before 2020, I started getting into collecting again. And that's about the time I started up my Instagram page. I run Cascade Surplus on Instagram. And it was kind of just a fun outlet. I started off because I followed old Mauser Man and Maple Firearms up there in Canada. Between the two of them, I was really inspired by a lot of their posts. They were just very aesthetically pleasing, and especially old Mauser Man, he had a bunch of really good information.
Yeah, he does really good photography with his Milsurps and stuff. And yeah, up in the mountains and everything where he shoots his Milsurps. It's pretty nice.
And you can't forget the coffee mug.
Oh yeah.
Well, what was
Nice.
your first Milsurp? Did you say?
Oh yep.
I did not. My very first Milsurp was a Yugo captured K98 I bought when I was 18. It was, I think it was $350 at the time with a bayonet and a Frogger. And I shot so much out of that thing. Picked that up, and then
no
99
millimeter though, right?
Unfortunately, yes.
You mean it didn't blow up, or
Why
your
didn't it
stock didn't break
explode?
into three pieces, or?
No idea, but I definitely had some shell casings get stuck in there. But it was such a fun gun. I bought that
It's
in
a
a
meme
mode.
for us. I'm sure you're aware.
Oh yes, yeah. I've got a bunch of surplus Turk that is going to sit in the back of my closet for forever because I'm never shooting that
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's a nice backup ammo to have. Like if you don't have any other 8mm, like okay, you can at least drag it out and run through your Mausers or whatever. But
Yeah, that's a worst case scenario. Our city is getting shelled, and I need ammo.
it's not as terrible as people say. Like it's not going to break your gun, but it's it's a little sticky in some Mausers that I've shot.
But yeah, unfortunately, that gun is no longer part of my collection. I parted with that one during college, so sadly, it's long gone.
Yeah, I don't think not too many people hang on to their first Milsurp. Some people do, I guess, if they're sentimental about it or something. But
Where did is Mark still gone?
no, Mark came back. I don't know if he can hear us.
Mark, can you hear us? Well, whatever.
I'm going with no.
All right. Well, what would you say, Owen, is your favorite item in your collection?
Oh man, I've had some pretty fun ones, but I think my heart and soul is sold to my Gewehr 43 that I've got. It's an AC 45. It's got capture marks from the Russians, and it's got some East German proofs on it too. It's been refinished by the Russians as well. So just the combined history on it, it's not matching. It's all parts interchanged, but it's definitely, it has the most history. It's the most expensive firearm I own. That's for sure.
What's the letter block on it?
L.
Okay.
So right there, getting towards the end.
Yeah.
Totally. I totally understand what you're talking about.
Can you all hear me now?
Yay,
Yeah.
Mark's back.
I thought it's a 45. I thought they stopped at D block. Are you sure about that?
I'll have to go back and check, but I'm pretty sure.
Because I have a D block that was captured at the Walther factory and has a mismatched bolt, but it has no final acceptance proof. So, but I think that's the way it left the factory.
Well, let me go grab it really quick, and I'll take a look
about it. Yeah, I think D was the last one.
But anyway,
Mark, you missed your introduction.
Well, the volume.
He's been on before.
The volume was screwed up. I mean, I don't know what you wanted to say.
We blamed it on being so close to the Canadian border.
It turns out that Owen's even closer.
Well, Washington State's a little more than that, so he has an excuse.
Yeah, but it's those French Canadians. That
all those French Canadians.
Hey, back.
Yeah, it's most definitely an L on mine, and I apologize. Not AC, it's a QVE.
That explains it, then.
Okay.
That explains it. Okay, I was going to say if it was a Walther, that's way late.
I was thinking about it. The bolt, the whole bolt assembly though is Walther. It's got all the right Waffen amps for that one.
Yeah, the 359.
Yeah, the 359.
Yeah, I know what you guys are talking about.
It's okay. We'll talk about M95s at some point.
No, we won't.
Like fake 623s on a 9534 carbine.
I know what those are. Yeah.
Whatever the technical term is, or I guess
M.95/30.
There was a M95 Hugo M that was legitimate. It was some kind of a German depot stamp that sold a few years ago. I didn't push the bid too hard. I only had enough money for the Berthier they had in that auction, and I kicked myself for it. I don't think I've ever seen another one for sale. At least I've seen a few in collections.
That's the thing, is that in our Discord, which if you're a Patreon member, you get access to, just a heads up, everybody.
A little plug there. Slide plug.
Somebody posted some pictures of a gentleman that his grandfather, I think it was, was a guard for POWs, and he was issued an M95, and he's got a bunch of pictures of him with his issued M95 rifle, and it's kind of neat.
Well, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. There's a photo somewhere out there of an Eastern European partisan in World War II, obviously, and he's got a Japanese Type I or Italian Carcano, the Japanese Carcano.
I mean, World War I could understand how arms kind of proliferated, but World War II, that's a little bit more surprising.
And I have a Car 98A that was brought back from China after World War II. The story was that when the 1st Marine, or 3rd Amphibious Corps, I can't necessarily say the 1st Marine Division, went into China after the war to quell the commies. Eugene Sledge wrote a book about his time in China, too. It's a sequel to With the Old Breed. If you've all ever seen The Pacific, you know who Eugene Sledge was. But they went into one of these embassies or litigations in China, and the Germans are still doing business. Well, they open up their arms room. What do they have? They have brand new World War I 1913 Erfurt Tar 98As. I know of one or two others of those that made it back to the States. It was perplexing how they ended up here, because that was the unit that would have fought Tsingtao. Tsingtao is, of course, Japan's big battle in the First World War, where they fought the Germans in 1914. 3rd Sea Battalion also participated there. But anyway, and then there was
like a time capsule.
Exactly. At Sasebo Naval Yard, when the Marines landed, they opened up all these crates, and what's in there? German standard model Mausers. So stuff got around. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there.
The problem is, not everybody stamped stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have a rough idea of stuff where your stuff went because of what's stamped on it.
Yeah, probably most surprising for like people that German captured arms or arms captured by the Germans aren't all stamped.
Nope.
They didn't stamp all of them.
Only for what reason, Danny?
What are you gonna when they manufactured them? Typically,
when they manufactured guns, they would be stamped.
Yeah, they would Waffen amp them.
Yes, but
if they had a Waffen amp office at the time.
But
because like the CZ-38s didn't have Waffen amps, but
if they were repaired at a depot, they would be stamped with a different type of stamp. They have a repair stamp on them. And that's how you can find German-marked M95s, because they were repaired at a depot.
Well, they might have a blued bolt. I mean, there are little nuances, like with a VZ24, they might have plugged the wrist swivel. They might have not. I have a Dutch M95, the turnbolt one, the superior one, that has.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. It's got a cut in the slings. It has no waffen amp, but it's got a cut in the stock like a 98K. Gets confusing because the Indonesians, I think, did that later on after the war. But then it's got a serial number on the keel of the stock on the bottom of the butt, which is something German done. It's got a blued bolt, and then it's duffel cut. You put all that together, it equals German. I mean, I've seen photos of Luftwaffe guys with Dutch 95 carbines, and there's nothing modified about them. Bolts are still in the white. I've got a VZ24 that I'm convinced is German was German used, but no way to prove it. It's straight check. No, they didn't even modify the follower. Nothing's been done to it German, but it's an original matching gun. But I've heard that Inner Arms after World War II found a lot of VZ24s in Denmark, and maybe it was there on occupation. Can I prove it? No, but that's just a theory. And I've seen it's got a little 50s import mark. It says 8mm. It doesn't say anything else like you see today. I've seen other guns with that same import mark, VZ23s and 24s, that have subtle little German mods. But again, no proof. None.
Yeah, there's a lot of video and photographic evidence of the Germans using like Dutch M95s. I have an original photo, and it's either Dutch or Romanian M95 long rifles, like in a TP stack.
I think they're Dutch because they have the unique sight that kind of comes up. I think I've seen that photo. The Romanian one's got a flat sight. I've actually got a Romanian one in the other room. I'm babysitting for a mutual friend.
Nice. Yeah, I need to look at the photo and see.
I can tell you right off the bat because it's got that. The Dutch have the unique sight. There was a book Verlag put out on all these different experimental weapons that the Dutch had, and it comes out of their collection. I think the curator wrote the book. It's called Experiment and Trial, but unfortunately, it's no longer in print in English, just in German. Anyway, there is a Belgian 89 long rifle with that same rear sight because the Dutch tried that against the Mannlicher. I'd never seen such a thing. I just thought that was pretty neat. Same, it's that ramp sight the Dutch used.
I just posted that photo in the chat if you want to look at it. It's kind of hard to tell.
Those are Dutch.
Yeah.
I can tell by the sight and the handguard. Those are definitely Dutch.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. But what I heard was that medical personnel, Kriegsmarine, and Luftwaffe guys got those people who wouldn't have necessarily had to have, been issued a 98K or a G43 or whatever, whatever the mainline guns are. I've heard some troops along the Atlantic Wall got them, but again, no proof. There could be proof out there. I just don't know it.
Yeah, I was curious on how, because that's my little niche, I guess. Like how many of them were in combat roles or like close to the lines, and especially like in Normandy in June, and the closest I got is that one picture I shared the other day. I don't know if you saw it, the captured rifles.
Yeah.
But there's no telling how far back that was from the lines, and if it was left by rear echelon dudes or whatever. But you can kind of tell maybe with the guns that were captured with it, like it was, because it was like I think it was just like a K98K, a G41, and then a Lebel and a Moss 36 together with a Panzer Schreck.
Of course, I think a lot of World War II Moss 36s came back that way, but again, theory. I have one that's LK5 marked. It's some kind of a German marking, but nobody knows what it is because it shows up on U-98 modified, or whatever you want to call it, the U-98 with a flat sight. It shows up on Hugo Mausers, but predominantly it shows up on Berthier's, Lebels, and Moss 36s. Yeah,
it's pretty. I'm curious too on how many of those guns. Like I've had two different Danish Krags, and both of them were duffel cut. So it seems to me like both of those came back because of the war, like not necessarily, like they were probably used by the Germans, whoever captured, or maybe they're just turned in or whatever.
The Volkstrom, maybe I've seen photos of the Volkstrom guys with those. Mine's duffel cut too. It has a Nazi stamp, but it's controversial. Some people think it's legit. Some people think it's fake. But
I mean, it's definitely interesting to be thinking about like all of these rear echelon rifles that they captured from other countries, like where exactly they would have sent these things in order for American troops to then capture said rifles and then take them as bringbacks. Makes me think more along the lines of the Volkssturm and the end of the war, most likely that being what they did with a lot of these things.
Yeah, there's a video of them opening up a crate very, very late, opening up a crate of Dutch M95s and handing them out to Volkssturm guys. So I've seen that video. So that for sure is a late war thing. But I've also seen a photo of it was like a general that was heading to the front lines. Supposedly somebody told him, hey, the Americans or the British or whatever captured some section, and he didn't believe it. So he hopped in his car with his driver and they just went there. They just drove straight there and they were machine gunned down. But the driver, he was able to get out of the car before he died, and laying next to his body was a little short Dutch M95 carbine.
Wasn't that Market Garden? Or am I imagining sometime Market Garden wasn't Arnhem?
I think so. I think it may be.
I've seen that photo.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a pretty neat photo, but it's like a nice that was probably he just needed something handy that could fit in the car while he was driving. Maybe he wasn't to shoot a pistol or something with his job.
Can't grab a G3340 in time.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? I think it was you that had photos of the RAD labor guys with different Dutch weapons. I think you showed me those once. Most
of mine are French.
Okay.
I was kind of surprised as I've been finding these, how many of them, because I was just, I'm sort of expecting it to be a lot of, kind of rear echelon or maybe like Luftwaffe field guys or flat guys or whatever. But it seems like quite a few of the dudes issued these, French rifles are like, German army, like actual German army, not just Luftwaffe. Like looking through my pictures real quick, it seems like kind of overwhelmingly German army, which is kind of interesting.
Well, the SS also got a lot of foreign stuff. There's that famous photo of the guy in camo shooting an SVT-40.
Oh yeah, that photo's been around. That's almost like the SS guy with the high power in the Battle of the Bulge.
A friend of mine had a ZB-26 machine gun, registered and everything, and on the little sling plate there was a unit marking. It was like 15th IP, which he theorized was the 15th SS Police, who were in Italy and didn't do very nice things. But it certainly makes sense that they'd get a machine gun like that.
Yeah, it does.
And you go into World War I, you go to the Belgian army. What did they get? A lot of Ottoman Mausers, which were in the same realm. They use those as frontline guns.
Yeah.
Usually captured stuff gets thrown to the rear, but that was an exception to the rule.
Yeah, because it's so similar to theirs.
Well, I don't know if they put the 89 sights on there wartime or post-war. Mine's got like the black paint finish, which they did post-war. I've been told the 89 sights came post-war by somebody over there, but again, I don't know for sure. And in World War I, the German Navy got Mosin Nagants, and I think Lebels too, just as, again, to free up guns for the front line. But anyway, I think we should be talking about pet peeves.
Digressed.
We digressed.
Did we digress? I couldn't tell.
We got onto M95s and we digressed hard.
Oh boy.
We talked about the better M95 anyway.
The better.
Oh man.
We asked
the Chilean Mauser?
That is a better M95. I think that takes the cake. I mean, it's better than the Lee Navy too, which I guess you could say is an M95.
Yes, it is.
Oh man.
Shots fired.
The shots exploded. That kind of sad. But anyway, so yeah, our topic of the day is grievances or pet peeves or stuff that happens in the hobby.
Stuff that you hear that just gets under your skin.
Yeah. About
Milsurps. Like when you're on Reddit and you're talking to guys about Milsurps or Facebook, and you hear somebody ask you, "Hey, what's your TE and ME on that M1?"
First comment.
I think bore condition for Milsurp guns is really overhyped. A lot of people forget that these guns were issued to conscripts, where they're probably jamming that cleaning rod and dinging the muzzle. A lot of them, with some exceptions, like the M1 carbine and the Swiss guns, fired corrosive ammo. It's going to get gummed up. It's going to get rusty. A little bit of pitting isn't going to hurt it. I mean, if the gun's bulged, ringed, that's a different story. If it's a complete sewer pipe, I mean, it really depends on what you collect too, and what your intended goal is. If you want to shoot, you're going to go shoot Camp Perry. I understand you wanting a low ME&T on your Grand, but if you want a collectible gun that's been there, done that, doesn't really matter too much, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
condition is overhyped. I think generally condition in Milsurp is overhyped. We want a gun that looks good, but a gun that looks good probably never. I'm not going to say always, but probably never left the armory. You know, like an unissued gun. But but I had an old boss who used to tell me people either collect things or they collect history. You know, the things might be a Winchester that pokes some holes in paper, but the history is like a Mauser that was in combat. That's why I think a lot of people who collect Milsurps do it, because it's that connection to history, and they're going to have honest wear, honest use. I think people just put too much emphasis on condition. It's important to a degree, but I think it's for military surplus. It's way overemphasized.
Yeah, it really is probably. Like it's become almost probably more like a competition, sort of thing. Like who, if two guys had like different, two Mausers or whatever, and one of them's got one more matching number or whatever than the other one, but the conditions a little bit, rough on the one. Yeah, the rough one probably is the one that saw combat and was issued, and the mint one probably wasn't.
Yeah.
So where does that balance of condition versus usage and history?
Well, speaking of usage and history, I don't know if you guys have run into this before, but multiple times at gun shows, I've seen a beat up K98 or some other World War II gun, and the FUD behind the counter is like, "Oh yeah, it's got blood rust on it."
Blood pitting.
Blood pitting.
Oh boy, that's a good one. It's classic.
Oh, it's a classic.
That's why it's all orange and red is all that blood.
Yeah, almost as good as SS stamps.
I think the blood pitting, it's more prolific on certain guns. Like maybe Arisakas, it's more of a thing.
I've seen some pretty gnarly Arisakas. I mean, bullet and trap. I know you can't prove it, but I've seen some pretty gnarly stuff.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, it's like how long ago it happened, and it's not proven. But some of it's like, how else would that have happened?
I was just imagining Daryl dropping his gun off of the side of the boat on accident, and it hits the dock and breaks everything, and then it kind of fixes it back together, and then his son or his grandson 50 years later is like, "Oh man, it was in a battle." I wonder how many of those are there.
Oh yeah, somebody got drunk and accidentally shot his gun or something, and yeah. That's
just fun.
Probably a good bit is legit, but yeah.
Danny, there was something that was brought up, and I've seen it a couple times this week, actually, which is the Type 94 pistol.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's the suicide gun, Danny.
Oh, no.
Oh, really? Suicide, not surrender?
Well, surrender suicide, obviously.
Depends if we're talking about Arisakas.
Well, I tried that.
Good.
So there was a guy on a big Facebook group that we're in.
Oh, Jesus.
All he posted... And it was a very nice picture, and I showed it to Danny. All he posted was a single picture of him holding an actual nice-looking Type 94 in like a jungle background. That was it. He didn't say anything. He didn't even say what kind of gun it was. There was 70 comments on that thing. The majority of them were arguing with each other about whether or not it was a surrender suicide pistol. And then I posted Danny's gun wall for his pistols on Reddit, because Danny is banned on the Milsurp subreddit. Good work, Danny.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you, Danny, and I mean that seriously.
Thanks. Yeah. I don't hear a lot of this FUD stuff because I'm not on that Reddit anymore.
A person posted just 15 minutes ago, actually. I see that you have the pistol that shoots when you squeeze the side of it. Never seen one owned privately.
Oh, jeez.
So I responded.
Wow.
You can also do that with a Luger, right? Not as easy, obviously, but it's still possible because it has an exposed sear.
Can't confirm. It's incredibly hard to get it to do it, but it will.
It can be done.
You have to take the plate off of the Luger to do it? I'm trying to imagine it.
No, I just pressed right next to the plate, like right at the joint.
Oh. Huh.
It's not.
You need to use a tool or something? Or
I was using I hate to admit this, I was using a screwdriver. I just wanted to see if I could do it. It was on an old commercial 1920s Luger. It was all beat to hell. I didn't feel bad about it.
Okay.
Commercial 20s
All
Luger.
right.
Okay.
You should
All right,
lead with that
everybody,
it was a
calm
beat
down.
up
Everybody, calm
commercial.
down.
Yeah.
Ooh,
No,
calm
it
down,
wasn't.
everybody.
It wasn't my 1937 S42 Luger. It was not that one.
Wasn't like your grandpa's
Everybody
bring back
breathe.
Luger from the bulge. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I
Well,
never
friend
really.
and I, when I lived in New Hampshire,
Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
friend and I lived in New Hampshire. We'd go to his range when nobody was there because it's a lot of either FUDs or tactical Tommies. We'd go there, nobody was there, and we tried that with one of his Type 94. We hit the hit the steer, excuse me. No success. It wouldn't go off. I think it varies by the tolerance of the gun. I've seen some people do it, but we couldn't get it done that day.
Like, was it clicking at least? Was it releasing and not firing, or?
It wasn't doing shit when we hit the exposed sear. But it's been a few years, so my memory could be a little. I just remember we tried it and it didn't work.
You know, Danny, looking at your picture wall here, your pistol wall, I mean, it is a lot smaller than the Type 14.
Yeah, it really is.
Which is why it stuck around.
Yeah, I think it was more popular in certain circles because of this. I mean, that was the main reason why they wanted something smaller than the Type 14. But yeah, it's like one of those optical illusion type of thing where if you just see like a picture of a 94 with like no reference, like size reference in it, you think it's maybe bigger than what it is, but seeing it next to like other guns that like next to the Luger or whatever, and it's like, oh, it is actually, it's kind of small. Like it's almost, it's not like subcompact. It's kind of like compact size.
I mean, you can see it. You have it under is that your Rand, your Remington Rand? It's definitely smaller than that.
Yeah.
It's definitely smaller than the Roth Krinka. That thing was like heavy.
Yeah, it fits better in the hand though than it looks.
Mm.
I don't know. There's something about the design. It looks bulky. I think it's just the way it looks fat. Kind of what you were saying. If you don't have anything for reference in those photos, it just looks like a large handgun.
Yeah. It doesn't look like it would feel as good, but like, most of it is, your hand's not on. But I was surprised, like holding it for the first time, like, oh, this actually fits the hand pretty well. Like it's not like chunky or doesn't make your hand kind of feel out of shape. Like it's legit, made for human hands. Probably the worst is like the C96 that I can think of. Like that seems kind of like the least ergonomic, probably I can think of.
What about your Steyr Hahn? I heard that's pretty bad too, because that's how straight the grip is.
It's not too bad. I shot that with Joel and neither one of us said anything about it. I don't think it stood out at all. The thing that did stand out is shooting that pistol is hard to miss. It was really odd. Like Joel and I were both very accurate with the Steyr Hahn. Like surprisingly so, because it's like a weird fixed sight and just shot on. Like we were hitting the steel plate like every time with that one, where we weren't with like the other guns like the Vizes.
Very boring, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. It was like reliable and it was hitting the steel, and I was just like, oh man, I need to get something that's less accurate, that slam fires.
Did you now? I would hope that you didn't, but did you do the accidental slide release? That's not the slide release.
No.
For those that don't know, a Steyr Hahn, sorry, has no magazine. It doesn't have a detachable magazine. It's an internal magazine, so it's stripper clip fed, and it does not have a slide release, although it definitely looks like one.
It's right in the place. I think the Steyr Hahn and the Roth Krinka both do, or the Roth Steyr.
Yeah. They're right in the same spot, and it looks like a slide release, but really what it actually does is release all the ammunition out of the magazine.
Yep. So if you had ammo in your gun, it slides back, and you just I'm gonna hit that to release the slide, and gun just auto unloads.
I mean, that's what we need. That's the ultimate gun control right there. Unloads the gun, can't shoot, boom.
Yeah, they should add that button on all guns to make them safer. That was sarcasm. I feel like I have to.
I don't know if you should. No, I think you should just put your stamp on that. But I'd say Danny is for a gun button that if you press it ejects all of your ammunition.
I mean, the mag release does that.
It makes it a more fun shooting experience, that's for sure. Especially if you hand it to a new guy and they do it. And you're like, classic new guy move.
All right. I got another thing that I'm sure that you guys could talk about. We could talk about. I'm gonna say it. Corrosive ammo isn't a big deal. It's
Yes and no.
oh. It's not a big deal.
It's not. It's not no deal. It's not like no problem, but it's not as like steel melting as like some people say it is. So, well, some people don't shoot it because like they just don't want to clean their guns or whatever. They're just like, I don't have to bother with it. And like, I kind of
that's
get
why
that.
I said no.
And then there's the guys that literally think this ammo is corrosive. It will eat the gun alive. Like there's acid and it's just going to like melt the gun in like 3 days if you don't clean it. And I think, it's usually the truth somewhere in between sort of. And it's kind of a pain because you definitely have to make sure that you clean it or whatever, depending if it's an auto, you got to go into the gas system. And if it's just a bolt action, then it's a lot easier just, cleaning the bore. But it's not that big of a deal. Even if your bore got a little rusty, like it's not going to permanently damage and pit the gun, if it got a little rusty for a couple days, which kind of goes back to, I forgot to mention when Mark was mentioning bore condition with Milsurps. That's something too. That's exactly how I feel about it too, Mark, because I've noticed it seems like older guys and older Milsurp collectors, that's like the thing they check. They want to know bore condition. Let me see, what does the bore look like? Like if you're selling a gun, how's the bore? That's like that's their question always. And it's like what are you doing with it? If you're wanting to shoot and hit something at a mile, maybe it's important that it's like pristine. But even a kind of rough bore will shoot better than most people.
The caveat on this is my very first Lee Enfield that I ever owned. It was a Long Branch #4 Mark I, and it had an atrocious barrel. So bad that when I took it to the gunsmith, he was like, "I don't know what part of the world you got this from. This has the worst barrel I've ever seen." Like he said it was pretty much going to have holes opening up all along the length of the barrel within a matter of 2 or 3 more shots through it.
So a standard Lee Enfield barrel.
Basically, yeah. But I mean,
Zing,
corrosive ammo does have an effect because part of my collecting and my collection is I like to be able to shoot everything that I own. And if I own a gun that has a barrel that is absolutely corroded out because of the ammo, it's worthless to me.
Now hold on. He just said something that I think is also something that I would have to say is something we can talk about here too. Is that I do understand the idea of wanting to buy a gun that you can shoot, but I have seen so many people pass up on amazing deals for guns that they're like, I can't find ammo for it.
See, to me, that's not the issue. For me, is if it's functional. As long as it's functional, I don't care how rare the ammo is. But if the gun is literally not functional, I can't put a round through it. That's where I draw the line.
No matter how rare a piece would be?
I mean, obviously, if an FG-42 came across my desk, I'm not turning that down. But
I mean, Danny bought that Roth Krinka, and it wasn't fireable, but he had it. You got it for how much?
$240.
Yeah, but it was only missing a couple pieces, right?
Yeah, it was missing a firing pin. Was the only thing that it was missing, which is kind of odd because why would it be missing a firing pin? I don't get it, but yeah. Who is it? I think somebody hooked me up. Michael. Michael hooked me up with a friend of his that's in Austria, and he sent me one from Austria.
Like a legit
he just happened to have one.
Austria?
Yeah, he just happened to have one, and I was like, hell, I don't care how much it is. Send it to me. I will pay. Because
you're never going to find one.
So, yeah, exactly. Because I've been looking for one for, about a year, however long I've had this gun. And finally got it. And it was funny, not long after I got the firing pin, I went to a show and I found the clip. Because the clips are pretty uncommon and kind of expensive, and I forgot what I offered for the clip, but kind of less than what they go for.
So yeah, I would say that I was Owen's statement, going with Owen's statement, which is I would only buy things that I could find ammo for or that I could make ammo for. So there was a couple of times I've missed out on stuff that I do regret. There was a guy locally that had a Birdan 2. A Russian Birdan 2.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't bother getting it because I was like, well, I can't do anything with it, but like that's not easy to find, that kind of thing. So I would say, as a caveat to any collectors, if you run across any screaming deals, either the gun's kind of is semi non-functional for whatever reason, like Danny's case, it was missing a firing pin, or you're like, I can't ever find ammo for this. If it's a screaming deal, don't back away.
Oh, absolutely. I think the best example of that, and you guys are probably aware of this, RTI's $99 sale on Carcanos over the holiday weekend.
I don't know about that. I don't know about giving
didn't
that
see
company
that.
money.
I don't know if the sale is still ongoing, but they dropped them down. I think it's just the standard 1891 Carcanos. I don't know my Carcanos that well, other than the fact I saw it was down at $99 for, I think they said they are in good condition.
Like, I could even tell you said that with quotes.
Well, my only other experience buying from RTI, it literally was caked in a 1/4 inch of African dirt and was not functional when they said it was shooter grade, so it was questionable. But I figured this is one of those things where you see a gun at that price, you just got to go for it.
I'm looking at their website right now. It looks like they have in fair to good condition 140 and in very good condition 200.
It was the fair to good condition. They were $99.
So they were $50 off then.
Yep.
I don't know, for $99, I don't think I would pass up if I had the
Yeah,
money.
it's hard to any kind of Milsurp that's functional for $100 is kind of you have to really.
I mean, that's definitely the pit that I fell into on those. I picked up a couple.
Yeah, I got a couple from Axis Arms when he got a bunch in. I've heard stuff about RTI.
Yeah, when you guys had Ian on the show a couple, I think it was like 2 podcasts ago or whatever it was, I was really hoping you guys would ask him about his relationship with them, because I know that he's done a couple videos for them in the past.
It's on the frickin' top of their website. There's a link
Oh
to
yeah,
the
the
YouTube
video and stuff. Yeah, I kind of have a feeling it's they have like a not super strictly like business relationship. Like it's not. I think it was just kind of like they reached out and like he went over to get their French stuff, sort of thing. Like I think it's. I would, I'm just speculating. I don't know, but I would be surprised if they had any sort of like official dealings or whatever. I feel like they'd have like promo code Ian for 10% off, or they would have something like that.
I think Danny's right. We don't have any proof of this, but it seems like to me like it was more of a case of we have French stuff that we got in. Sometimes some of it's rare, so like Ian was going to be there, so they might as well.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I wouldn't be shocked if there was also some exchange of money. It's like, hey, can you do a promo video for us? That kind of thing.
If anything, I bet he got his hands on the rare stuff that they haven't announced that they got yet, because I know somebody was saying that they actually got their hands on a bunch of Gewehr 43s and Lugers, and I haven't seen any of those hit the market yet.
They had Gewehr 43s in Ethiopia in that cache?
That's what I heard. I'm still trying to confirm it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Yeah, that kind of stuff. That, all that, the cream of the crop of that got picked off. Like the owners and their friends and everyone, like guys like Ian and
People
stuff.
with influence,
they skimmed the cream off the top before it hit the website. I'm sure that's just the way. I would do that. That's just the way it.
Going back to M95s though, there is a $4,000 M95 on there right now.
Oh, is that the sniper?
Yes.
I'm really surprised you haven't picked that up. Sold your arm and your leg.
$4,000. First off, that's
you could,
twice the amount of my Lee Navy.
Would you rather have it or your Lee Navy?
I'd rather have the Lee Navy. If I'm just
I'm a little surprised by that.
I like the M95s, but the Lee Navy, and I told Danny this last week, I think we were talking about something like this already, was that when this thing popped up, a lot of people sent me this. A lot of people sent me this link. I like the M95s a lot, but I got into them because they were cheap, not because they're $4,000. I don't see myself ever getting one of the snipers unless I just happen to luck into it. But I would rather have my Lee Navy than a sniper. I mean, in all fairness, it's cool looking, but it's really just an M95 with some holes drilled in it and some scope rings on it, and that's all it is.
It would be a different story if it had the scope. If
it had the scope, yeah, but I still don't have $4,000. But you're never going to find. I don't know if you'd ever find the actual correct scopes for it. The program for snipers in Austria-Hungary was non-existent. It was like test runs of stuff. So there's like 3 or 4 different scope mounts, a bunch of different types of scopes they used. It was all test runs. There was no official unit as far as I know. So it's really, really, really hard to find, which is why it's a $4,000 rifle. But I will say, RTI seems to be like the one that has kept up with a lot of inventory of Milsurp stuff here lately.
Yeah, the great last influx of Milsurps, maybe.
I don't see Classic popping up anymore.
No, I think honestly, I think the war in Ukraine kind of dampened it down, especially when it comes to those Soviet bloc countries. Even the parts kits are drying up.
Yeah, most of them, I think, are those M9130s were coming in from Ukraine, and that all clamped down on a lot of stuff. It's weird because I've seen like there's a couple sellers on eBay that sold like Russian stuff and World War II stuff, like captured German stuff. Of course, they have tons of it, and I noticed a little like they'll still have the items posted, but it's like you just can't buy it, like this stuff from Russia or whatever. So, and I've seen some listings from Ukraine, but it's like, am I gonna actually get it? You know, like is this real? Like, are they still? I just can't imagine like being in Ukraine right now and like selling stuff on eBay. I guess if you have to do what you got to do for money or whatever. But
well, wasn't there that one guy who was selling the surplus Russian tank right there at the beginning? He captured it. And
oh yeah, that was probably just like propaganda or something, like just like a PR stunt. Yeah, that's big boy money right there, because then you got to figure out how to get the tank onto a ship back to the United States and all that jazz.
And then transporting it.
Yeah, and transporting it.
Because you can't drive it.
No, that's for those people above our means to worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Mark, are you back?
I don't think he's
Mark
back yet.
Still got problems. All right. Well, our next thing that I think this has started to waver here. I've noticed a lot recently, and especially because maybe it's just my peer group, because obviously Danny is big into other ones as well. But non-German Mausers are as good or better than German Mausers.
Oh man!
Wait, was that what's
he's
the
rejoining.
Perspective of the question?
So it was basically non-Gewehr 88s and non-Gewehr or K98s are just as good or better than those. Like why can't I understand this right now? Are you saying people discount like the South American Mausers versus
like
a German produced?
German Mausers aren't, no matter which variant of Mauser. You're saying that the other variants of Mausers are better than the quote German variants. Yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
I do not know if I agree with that. What I would say is that the fit and finish of a German Mauser it feels different. It feels clean. Like you take a K98 or even a Gewehr 98 and you compare it. Like I've got a Spanish 1916 Mauser sitting right here, and it feels rough. It just doesn't feel like they.
Well, you're comparing it to one of the worst ones,
right? But you said something other.
Well, what about
the one that I'm looking at?
The South American Mausers.
You mean the ones that were made in Germany?
Yes, yeah. But they're not considered German. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I get that sometimes at shows. If I'm talking and they're like, no, I want a German. Hey, well, this was made in Germany, you know? And it's like, no, I mean like a real German one, like the Germans used. And I was like, well, like quality-wise, this is as good or better probably, right? If it's made before the war versus like a wartime gun. But there's only like a handful of like countries, I think, that made Mausers for themselves. Especially
Japan, for one.
You know.
Mark, we can hear you.
Yeah, Japan. I mean, like in South America specifically, like
Brazil.
I think
Brazil made them.
Yeah, they did, because they made those post World War II 1950s. I always forget
the Muscatoon, the M9 5.8s or something. But I think I don't know if that's like if that counts though. I was trying to think of it because I don't think
CZ.
The Czechs made some really good Mausers.
I mean, it was all on German tooling and all of that.
What about FN?
Absolutely, FN probably made some of the best ones. I'm looking at my rack of Belgians right now.
FN is not German.
If it ain't a German one, then it ain't a real Mauser.
Yeah.
I mean, we could always just talk about the Springfield 1903.
What about the Husky?
Oh
yeah, I know. Well, I was trying to think of like smaller. The Huskies are probably they're probably better than German made. Honestly, that's probably what I would.
And you can't forget about the Swiss Mausers.
I got that. Somebody else get that?
No,
It's a sad day.
Okay.
I only know M95s, Danny. We know this.
It's like a trope, like my Swiss Mauser, because it's like a Swiss didn't made one. They usually mean something else or whatever. It's okay. That's okay.
It's a joke. We got it.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about a joke is over explaining the joke. I don't know if you ever understood that about me.
That's great.
Well, I think the 30.
What, Mark? What?
I think the 30s Obendorf guns, particularly the Brazilian 1935, is probably one of the nicest looking Mausers out there. I say that as someone who collects Gewehr 98s and more German tiered. I mean, a lot of the South American guns, like you said, were made in arsenals in Germany, DWM, Lowe, Obendorf, whatever, or FN. I think they're every bit. I think they're more like they're actually, some of the pre-war South American guns are better than like a standard issue German Mauser, just that people associate history of the world wars with Germany, unless.
How can we forget Steyr? How can I forget friggin' Steyr? Seriously?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those guns have some combat.
M95.
Those guns have some combat history used by the Austrian Alpine troops.
I was like trying to rack through my head. I was like, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Frickin' Steyr made frickin' Mausers for export, even.
In my head,
Display.
in my head, I sort of imagine it like there's like, the three or four like European manufacturers who really know their stuff and made really good Mausers and then exported a lot of them. And then there's like the little guys and like the various countries that made them like for themselves. And I can't think of too many that made Mausers like from scratch, like with the receivers and everything up. Like there's countries like Brazil that I know, like they kind of remade them. Like they took a previously made receiver, in Germany, and then added a different barrel inside or whatever to it. But I don't know if that counts like a new, or like rechambered it or whatever. But I don't know if that counts as like a new gun or like they actually made it when really they kind of reconfigured.
Mexico had their own arsenals making guns. I'm not sure where the receivers came from, like the model 1931. They had some models in the 50s and 30-06. I think the model's 1946. I can't remember.
I want a Mexican 1936.
The funny-looking cocking piece.
Yep, exactly. Such a weird one.
The Mexican guns are very weird because there's just so little detail about it.
Well, when I worked at a former auction company, we had probably one of the coolest Mausers I've ever seen. And it was an Oviedo to boot. I never knew up until this point that Oviedo made 93 Spanish-like Mausers for the Mexicans. It was marked RM on the stock. Gun was like brand new, which you never see out of a gun that comes out of Mexico. The story on it was, and it was carved into the stock, had all the documentation to prove it. Guy was a machinist mate on a ship that docked at Veracruz in 1913. And he went ashore with the Marines, grabbed that gun. It was like when they had that when they had the Mexican Revolution going on, the U.S. Marines intervened at Veracruz. He went ashore, grabbed that gun, put his name on the stock. It was really just a really neat gun. One of the coolest Mausers I've seen. Probably the best Spanish made. I'm not a big fan of Oviedo product.
Oh, I guess Spain would count, Danny, right?
Yeah, that would be one of them. Yeah, kind of. I guess some of those, like Spain, maybe did do a little bit of outside, exporting of them, which is kind of on a rare thing.
They had the Paraguay in 1927, which they sent down to Paraguay for the Chaco War, and I think a lot of them ended up actually using the Spanish Civil War. I'm not sure which side used them, but they were converted 8mm, but the Paraguayans called them the Paraguayan killers because supposedly the steel was soft or something, and they blow up, and they'd go pick up a Bolivian VZ-24 instead, which is a better gun. Again, the Czechs with those good Mausers.
Yeah.
See, I have good topics.
So, I think Argentine made them from scratch. I'm pretty sure.
Did they?
Especially their 1909
they did.
Cavalry carbines.
The F map. Oh, the Iranians did too, or Persians.
The Persians did, the Turks as well.
I think so, but the Persians, a lot of their stuff came from CZ, but you see some 98-29s. I think the arsenal was in Tehran, however you pronounce it, and they made the M49 carbines. I know a lot of the Turks had a lot of guns that were either built from 1903 Ottomans, 1893 Ottomans, or U-98s, but I'm not sure if they made some new receivers. I'm not up to speed on the post-Ottoman Maus. Oh, the Yugoslavians.
Oh, duh.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Wow. I can't believe we all missed that one.
But that was another sort of like
FN
internal
was involved with that, right?
sort of maker. Like they made them for themselves sort of thing, right?
Well, wasn't FN involved with that to begin
Well,
with?
FN made some. FN made some. Yes, they were okay. Now they made some of the 1924 short rifles at first. Then the Arsenal. It starts with a K, and I can't pronounce it. Made some, and then later on Zastava. They overhauled some of those guns, becoming the 24-47, and then the 24-52, which was a VZ-24. But the M48s were all new production guns after the war, as I understand it, by Zastava.
Zastava?
Zastava.
Zastava?
Yes, that's probably it.
Uh,
Yep.
I don't know how to speak that. I'm not sure what actual language it is, actually.
You want to talk about a cheap Mauser, though, is the 24-47s. Like,
Oh,
man,
yeah.
you used to be able to get those. I haven't seen one lately, now that I think about it, but I used to see those all over the place. They were very cheap. It's like nobody wanted them.
Speaking of Yugo Mausers, let's talk about Mitchell's Mausers.
Oh God, why?
Oh, you mean the highly collectible and 100% authentic?
Yes. So now, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. Has there ever been any proof that Mitchell fixed up the M48s they brought in?
I don't think the Yugo guns were improved. The K98K certainly were improved by somebody, but I'm not going to say who.
Yeah, I've got a DOU 44 sitting over in the corner right now, refurbished by Mitchell. It's got this nice, funny little sunburst thing on it. They took the Russian Capture X and they added one extra line, and it just looks like a giant asterisk. I think that describes the gun in a nutshell.
It's a butthole.
Well, I mean, the best part about it is like they re-serialized everything, right, on the K98s.
Yes.
And I'm pulling this thing apart the very first time. I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, there's a late war. It's got late war bands on the front, which is fine. It's got 44 receiver. I pull apart the bolt, and it's got a Weimar era eagle stamped on it still. Like they somehow missed it. It's like this gun is potentially from what? They stopped doing the Weimar eagles in 37, 38. So
They're
8 to 45. Math's not my strong suit. That's what, like 8 years, 7, 8
What
years.
you're saying is pretty much anybody with the rudimentary like knowledge of K98Ks can discredit the fact that this gun is all original.
Basically, as long as you know as long as you have some idea of what the German markings of the time were, you would know. But it's all matching and all original.
Oh yes, just like M1 rifles can be all matching.
But
okay, hold on. Hold
on. Before we get off on the M1s of being all matching, which is a running gag we do, I did want to point out that M48s get a lot of hate on public groups like Facebook and Reddit and stuff. The Mitchell's M48s. As far as we know, and as far as I've been able to find out, there's been no proof that Mitchell's ever improved the M48s. They were never issued.
Yeah, I've always just been like, why does it matter if it's a Mitchell's M48 or whatever? Like, what? It's an M48.
Of the stigma.
Like, what?
It's the stigma because it's a Mitchell's.
What could they have possibly done to it to make it any worse than an M48 Yugo? You know what I mean? That's what my response would be to anybody that's like, oh, but it's a Mitchell's M48. It's like it's just an M48. It's a post-war gun. It has it's there's no soul, you know. It's just a post-war gun. It was probably made and put up and never used.
Wait, Dana, are you saying it was boring because it's so good looking and nice and clean?
It's because of how clean and precisely made it was, and just all the
weird
8mm-ness of it. It's just, I bet it'll bang every time you pull the trigger, and it doesn't go off when you close the bolt. So it's just boring. I'm just talking nonsense now.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Can we go back to all matching M1s now, or?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I think the whole cottage industry to like match up Grands and 03s, whatever American guns, stuff with drawing numbers or carbines is kind of silly because you're just not going to say you're faking a gun, but it's hard to tell with an American gun whether it's been put back together unless you really know what you're looking at. That kind of annoys me. And
I think he's fading out.
Yeah,
I got it. He said it annoys him that they
you put the right drawing numbers on your Grand, you put lock bar sights to make it correct. It's just it's something that should be left alone. If you ask me, if it's done inside a legitimate government arsenal, but to each his own at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've been tempted to make mine look correct, I guess, at least. because it is, it's got the whole post-war sight and everything on it. It's got a 44 barrel though, but hey, that's something I didn't know that mattered as much as it did, like a wartime barrel on an M1.
That's about the only thing that I've really seen that people seem to care about on the M1. Same with, honestly, some of the old 1903s as well. People will ask, oh, what's the barrel date on that? Doesn't matter what the serial number is. They just want to know the barrel date.
With 03 though, 03s, maybe it's a little different. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, but I think it's more because of, like a pre-war, like it could be a pre-World War I 1903, which could be a very like rare gun if it was, correct with it wasn't rebarreled. So I think with 1903s, it's like might be a little different, but I guess it rhymes.
There are still people who try to correct 03s. They'll put the handguard on without the sighting groove on an early gun or they might try to build a pseudo rod band at whatever.
Yeah.
And M1 carbines too are notorious, and so are 1911s.
Or the guys that seek out the gas trap M1s.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
that exists.
You're just gonna have to build. You just have to build one of those if you want one, mostly.
Though they exist, if you have the money, you can get one. It's like anything. It's like a Pedersen device. They're quote unquote rare, but any big auction house in a year's time, you'll find one if you have the cash.
I think that's a big part of it is that a lot of these are, especially when it comes to American-made firearms, if you have the cash, you can find them. Whereas I feel like with foreign arms, especially World War II, German, even Russian, like if you're trying to find something that's really rare, like let's say one of the AVS 36, the semi-auto that was also a full auto before the SVTs.
Yeah.
Like they can be found, but they are truly rare. Whereas I can't think of a single American platform rifle, maybe some of the submachine guns, but rifle, I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's like you will never see that rifle.
What?
Well, it depends if we're talking standard issue or prototype. I mean, I'm going to come out and say that I don't think FG42s are as rare as people previously thought they were. You can find them usually every year at one of the big auctions. They're not cheap. They're a couple $100,000. I
was going to say, they're one of the most expensive ones of World War II, though.
I would agree with that, but it's more everybody perceives they're rare. The AVS 36 is certainly scarce. I've seen a couple of those come up for sale. I think they all came in from Finland when Cummins brought them in. But it's hard to say. Like an MG42 is expensive. Somebody was telling me the other day, Roble MG42 in the 90s, $1,000. Then when Saving Private Ryan came out, now they're $50,000 20 years after that movie came out.
A lot of people don't understand how common the STG 43, MP 44, whatever it is actually. Like they're more common than I think people realize.
There's still tons of them out there too. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been seeing all the pictures recently coming out of Iraq and Syria of all the STG 44s that have somehow started flooding the battlefields there, but they're around. They're still being warehoused somewhere.
They made a few 100,000.
I don't think I've seen any recent ones. I saw that one picture of like the guy holding it, like an MP44 in Syria. That was like a few years old. I haven't seen anything recently from there.
I'd also say the G41s and G43s tend to get a reputation of being rare.
Well, 41M is scarce, but if you can find a 41W, I'm going to say most G43s you can find with these, just again, expensive. I mean, if you want a Gustav or something or an early 43 Walther, it's going to be harder, not to crack, but just boils down to money. I mean, try finding a Car 98B that isn't an Albania.
Everybody loves Danny's Johnson, though.
Everybody loves a good Johnson.
Try finding a German Car 98B. Those are, I would say, probably the hardest to find German infantry rifle. Took me a few years to find mine. I mean, you can find them from Albania. They're mismatched and beat to hell, but finding one in any sort of decent condition is really tough, and they're pretty underappreciated. But anyway,
not a lot of people know about them or talk about them. The K98Bs.
I suppose it's best to keep it that way anyway.
Yeah. So that's kind of the thing too. If a gun is too rare, then it is too rare. Not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people talk about it. So then it's just too obscure. And then it's
Danny experienced that when he tried to sell your 35M.
Yeah, the 35M. It was hard to find anyone that knew what it was, but just too rare, too obscure. But yeah, G43s are a lot less uncommon or a lot more common than people think they are. Like
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah,
see them.
they-
I see them pretty often at shows. They're always on Gun Broker for sale. You can always find a couple any given time.
I don't know if they're $4,000 rare, as a lot of people seem to think they are. I mean, I think they're more realistically
Yeah,
they should be in the
it's kinda-
$1,500 to $2,000 range. But
They should be. I don't know what it is.
Oh, wait.
That's pretty recent.
Absolutely. Same thing with the SVT-40. They're not rare. I mean, finding good ones hard, like an original matching gun, sure, but they're bringing $2,500 and it's stupid.
Or the
Bro.
PSLs.
Oh,
How
jeez.
those
Oh, yeah,
exploded
those.
in price.
the other thing too, I don't know. I just feel like all these people that bought the parts kits have jacked the prices on the semi-autos that they've made. I feel like you used to be able to get them for like low thousands, maybe 2,000 for some of them, like the MG42s that they've converted to semi-auto. Now they're running 6 to 10K for those suckers.
Oh, for the semi-autos?
Yeah, like I just picked up a DP28 not too long ago, a couple weeks now. And I mean, even those are going for about $4,000, but I can go back and I can search the history and it looks like they were selling for about $900 not 4 years ago. It's just crazy that the price on those has gone up so much, and I really can't figure out a good reason that it's going up that drastically for these.
Yeah, a friend of mine sold his collection, and he had a semi-auto MG42, and he bought it for pretty cheap, probably like 8 years ago or something, and he just posted online for $6,000, and he just sold immediately, and he went, oh crap, like what did I? Are these worth a lot more? Because it's just how fast it sold. Because he thought he was posting high, because it's I was like, it sold that, like it's going for more, like what are they? Yeah, I don't really understand the appeal of, like, I get it if it's all you can have and you absolutely want it, but like I don't understand the appeal of a big heavy semi-auto.
Well,
like
if you live in
semi-auto.
if you live in a non-free state such as California, Washington, the list goes on, Maine, it's all that you can have, because machine guns are straight up not legal in Washington unless I think you got to have, I forget if it's a class 3 FFL, but it's basically harder than hell to get them up here in Washington. So semi-autos is the best you can do without having to literally start a business.
Yeah, but it's still like, I don't know. I know it's a gun and it shoots bullets, but to me, like a semi-auto MG42 or something is like
I would agree with you on if it's belt fed, the semi-auto doesn't make any sense to me. But if it's magazine fed, I kind of understand it. Like
yeah, like one of those what's that? The weird top magazine gun that
Bren?
Ian ran in a
ZB-26
or ZB-26, but the Madsen. He ran around with a semi-auto Madsen, like something like that. I can kind of understand, I guess, if you need like a facsimile of what a a real one would kind of be in a target situation like that, like a run and gun situation. But like when the Saws FN released those semi-auto Saws like 5 years ago or whatever. Like,
Ohio Ordnance makes a semi-auto 240 too. That's over. I think it's over 10-15.
They also do a bar as well, BAR.
Like, I understand why people will want them, because like I talked to Tim, and because he was he got one of the Saws when they first came out, the semi-auto ones, and I was just kind of like, isn't that just like a real big heavy like AR essentially, but you have to pick up all your links afterwards and like buy links and whatever. I don't know. It didn't have quite the, like, I would almost rather have a blank firing only full auto than a semi-auto.
Well, I think belt feds in general, any machine gun that's like a crew served weapon is pretty complicated to maintain, and people don't understand that. I think a lot of average gun people don't. A mutual friend of ours has an 08 Maxim and couldn't get the links to work right, and I've seen him struggle with his Type 96 and 99 Japanese machine guns. There's a lot of stuff that goes wrong, and spare parts are almost non-existent. So
yeah, it's a struggle.
That's why I would almost say like the BAR, the Bren, the Madsen, the ZB, the DP28 to some extent, like the ones that are basically just bigger rifles. They're not really like.
Well, speaking of real rifles, sorry to interrupt, but like the STG-44, like what is it? Is the PTR?
Is it the PTR 44?
Yeah, the PTR 44. I mean, it's a semi-auto clone basically, but it's a semi-auto SDG 44. Are you saying that you wouldn't want one of those?
No, of course. Well, it's box fed, and I mean the original ones were semi-auto too. Like there's no like semi-auto MG42. So it's a little different with like a rifle than with like a belt fed.
I would say like Mark said, a crew gun.
In my head, at least.
If it's a crew.
Oh yeah,
weapon,
crew served. Yeah, that's the thing.
Like an MG42 is not a single person firearm.
No, it was like a minimum like two person, supposed to be 3, and for an MG crew for the Germans at least. Yeah, it's but no, I would love an MP or a PTR 44. A buddy of mine had one 10 years ago, and he sold it for like $2,000 10 years ago.
Oh gosh.
And which to me, it was a pipe dream to have that much money, 10 years ago for me. But now I've seen what those things go for. It's quite a bit. There's a company, a German company, that's going to start making them pretty soon. I reached out to them. I don't know if you heard about them. They started. They're making parts kits, and they're importing the parts kits. So it's everything except for the receiver and the barrel. So it's like the gas block and the sights and stocks and everything like that.
No, but I would love a link to them.
I forgot their name. But I reached out to them because they were doing those parts kits. I bought they were selling, I don't know, they just shipped this all over from Germany or something, but they had an original G43 mag that was pretty cheap on their website. I was like, is this original? Like, is this legit? But I bought it, and it's a real one. But I reached out after that, and I was asking about their MP44s, and they said that they can't import the barrels and the receivers, so they're going to import the parts, I guess, and then make some parts in the U.S. And they're going to make barrels and receivers here in Kentucky. And so pretty soon they're going to have legit semi-auto MP44 clones made in Kentucky by this company. Really wish I could remember the names, but they also said they're going to do semi-auto MP38s, which is kind of odd. I figured they would go MP40. But the MP38s
are harder to get, though. They don't really exist.
Yeah, I think that's true. There was some company I think that was making one a while back, but I still don't get why they do it, because the receiver and stuff is different. Because like the hole and like the mag well, I don't know why they would do it, but and one other gun that they're making semi-autos, but they're gonna branch out. Like I think they're gonna do like the Grat or whatever. I think they're gonna do those. A bunch
that's
of other
STG 45.
Yeah, I think that's it. I need to find this company again.
I don't think any of those exist outside of museums. I don't think so.
If they made a semi-auto MP38, I have a bayonet for one. Well, kind of. It's not really an MP38. What's the Portuguese designation, Mark? I know you know.
For what?
The Portuguese MP38.
I'm not sure.
I know people will get on to me if I say it's an MP38 because it's not the actual name of it.
It's not. So I'm not, just so everyone's clear, I'm not talking about HMG. I'm not talking about them. It's a German company. Gosh. I'm doing like a quick Google search to try to like find it.
Well, Danny's talking about that. I'd also like to plug something else, a random company. Somebody has noticed, and I don't know if anybody's made a comment about this, but as of this moment, which we are taping this on July 18th, or no, sorry, July 8th, excuse me.
We're in the future, guys.
We're in the future. We will be when this airs. But as of this taping, Numrich has Gewehr 88 bolt heads.
No.
Yes.
Those things are rare. Holy crap.
And they have ejectors, and there's a company making extractors.
That's Myers Arms in Ohio.
That
Good
is
people.
correct. And Myers has also announced that they will eventually start making bolt heads themselves.
He made a batch of them before, I thought.
He did. They are $125. I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. They are actually there.
100, yeah, I think
125. Yeah. But the ones on Numrich are actual surplus ones, and they're only like $25. So if you got a Gewehr 88 and you need a bolt head.
Yeah, I've not bought, like I've turned down one that was pretty cheap.
You turned down
because I didn't have one.
Williams, didn't you?
Yep. Yeah, the one that Mike bought.
I turned it down too because I'm like I don't know what I want to do with this.
Yeah. That's one of those things. I don't know if he exactly said it that way. But I've heard people sell stuff. Hey, this going back to pet peeves. One of my pet peeves. When people like have a gun that has something wrong with it that they're selling it, and the gun's close to like retail full price as if it was fine, and they typically just say, "Yeah, it's just missing this," but you can find one online. Like you could just find one online and put it on there. Like they just kind of say it like that, which my mind immediately goes to, well, why didn't you just do it if you were going to sell it? Like just add the part and then, sell it. Right? It's so easy to find.
Yeah. Or if you have the tools to do it is another one I've heard.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I didn't ever get that second Gewehr 43 built, is because I didn't have the proper tools to get all the parts put together.
Oh, did you have a receiver build?
Yeah, no, I had the receiver. I had all of it. I needed to get the stock properly fitted, and so I needed to take off the front sight post in order to get the front fore end barrel band to go on. You can't actually just slide it over the front.
Mm.
And so I didn't have the tools, and it was just sitting around. And then the guy who had the DP28, I messaged him and see if he'd be interested in a straight swap. We went ahead and did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to help. I don't know about you guys. It seems like, I think, Danny, you just have been moving around, right? So you just got set up in a new place, but you're probably well aware of the difficulties of trying to work on things when you don't have a proper space for it.
Yeah. That's kind of my dilemma right now is I need a space where I can work on my Johnson. I figured somebody would do that, but no, I actually do. But also I need to actually work on it, and like I just need a space where I need a vise, I think, to hold the stock, like just something
to hold it without damaging it.
Yeah, just kind of like what Mark does in his videos. The other Mark does in his videos, handle, where he has the soft felt or whatever that he squishes the stocks with to hold it. I just need something to hold the stock, and then I can do it. Got all the parts. I just ordered a new butt plate screws, which Johnson rifle butt plate screws are like the little wimpiest screws. They're not at all what you'd expect. Like if you're used to like Mauser, butt stock screws, it's pretty niche right there. But it's just these tiny little screws. Like seems like something on a commercial rifle that you wouldn't really find.
Did they come from the U.S., Danny?
The screws?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you the story about how I had to order a single screw for the L1A1 that I had from Canada?
Oh yeah.
It took 3 months, and it had to be imported as a firearm piece. It took like all this fucking paperwork because it's a screw.
A screw. Wow. Good job, Canada.
Took forever. I thought it was lost, honestly, and it was like $25.
Cool.
But it's a screw that has a hole in it that's threaded.
Hey, you think we're going to be getting an influx of pistols from Canada anytime soon?
You think?
Yeah, after what their guy was saying they're going to do up there. Y'all heard that?
I'm not sure. No, I've not heard that.
Yeah, Trudeau announced that he was going to, I guess, freeze. It's not like a ban, but I guess he's going to freeze like transfers of pistols in Canada, something like that.
Yeah.
You can and it's always like, okay, we know where this starts. So you start with a freeze, and then it becomes a ban, and then it becomes a turn 'em in, or we shoot your dog. So
up there, shoot their moose or their beaver.
Or yeah. Well, sorry about that. Shot your beaver
with your Johnson.
Okay. Okay, it is. I found the company.
Oh, he found it.
Everybody it is DK Production Group. DK Production Group.
As we all Google them.
I'm not. Danny, who is the company that made your stock for your G43?
Fox Militaria in Poland. Yeah, he's like the main guy for all of them. It's kind of funny. There's not a guy in the U.S. anymore that does that.
Yeah, Fox is the guy, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh man, that BD38 kit looks great. Somebody's got posted up on the Reddit.
Oh yeah, that was one of the first things that I saw. That's pretty much what they're doing. Can't find their website now. Did they? Why isn't this pulling up?
DK Production Group LLC out of Mill Springs, Kentucky. There's a phone number associated with it.
And I bought something off their website. Like this was odd. Okay.
They've been shut down.
Like, have they though? Man, I just talked them up. Like, they're help me DK Productions Group. You're my only hope to own a semi-auto STG-44. You get that Star Wars reference there, Aaron?
I got it.
Okay, just making sure.
Well, as of 4 months ago, somebody posted on the Milsurp subreddit that they bought a parts kit for a BD-38 kit from them.
Yeah, that's the one I just sent. So at least as of 4 months ago, we know that they were up and live.
Oh wait, did they change their names?
Oh, that Reddit had a link.
Wait.
I found it. It's dkproductiongroup.com, all one word.
Group.com.
It may not be showing up on Google for some reason, you know what I mean?
I think it's Waffen Fabric USA. Is that at least Waffen Fabric? Is that the German company's name? I don't know. That's something came up. Yeah, that website worked though. Yeah, dkproductiongroup.com. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, they're making a K-43, or at least they're gonna. It looks like.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make it and that's I would love. I'm gonna buy that one probably before I would buy.
Hold on, they're doing a BD 1-5.
BD 1-5.
For those that are listening, it's the Volkssturmgewehr. If you play Battlefield 5 at all, it's that very first STG-44 knockoff that you get.
Oh yeah. I want the.
What do I say? It's a knockoff.
The
That gun came out later on.
The gun I want the most is the MKB-42, probably from them. That thing is pretty cool. Got the Red Orchestra vibes going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it looks like they're making a whole ton. FG-42s, they got the early ones and ever. Man, they're gonna have some.
Man, they're gonna make a lot of money
if it doesn't flop.
Yeah, if it's not another HMG, Helen Mack. Jeez, what happened to those guys?
They were liars. It stole a bunch of money.
Were they?
I don't know. This is allegedly.
Yeah, don't get
allegedly
slandered or whatever. I just thought they ran out of money or something. Like I heard. I don't know.
I believe they got into a fight with one of their manufacturing partners, and they could not agree, and then it went to court, and then they ran out of money.
It's still on their website. It still says shipping soon. You can pick from the 4 calibers of HMGs, and yeah, there's too long, man. Shoot, if DK can get some.
Who was the company that was making the FG repros?
Oh,
SMG.
SMG guns.
Yeah. Ian had one, right?
I think he's definitely shot one.
I don't think he has one.
I thought he had but he shot one on the show, right?
Probably. Yeah, HMGs. Yeah, if they look, so if DK's MP44s look anything like what the pictures they have on their websites of like their prototype guns or whatever these are, it's gonna look a lot more original than the pictures on HMG's website of what they're going to look like. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like if it looks anything like that at all, like if they get all those, because like the little those little lines and the stampings to make them stronger. What's the name for that? Little lines. The lines aren't right in the receivers and the receiver stampings, like on HMGs, like their trigger housing. They had to do it for whatever reason, but if they can get those down.
So I found my way onto their recent posts, part of their website. The most recent thing that they posted is back from November 2nd, this last winter, just them giving prices for their parts kits. But it looks like they're selling parts kits for the MP38, the MP44, and FG42. So I guess if you're willing to put down the money for it, you could get an FG42.
$4,000. That's what SMG was charging, I believe, right?
I think so, yeah.
Sounds about in the same ballpark.
Yeah, there you go. I just sent the link to their grip. So they made the grips for the MP44. I sent the link to it, and it looks good.
It's out of stock, unfortunately, but it looks amazing.
Yeah, and it's like that's what HMG should have looked like. And they actually made them and imported them, and you can buy them. Oh man, that's the good. I always thought why a company like DK or whatever, maybe the German company, they could have merged with HMG or did some sort of deal. Because if HMG was already making the barrels and stuff, and they know how to, do the stampings, they could have just started popping them out. I feel like.
I think they were tied
I
up
don't
in
know.
too much legislation.
Or yeah. Dang. Well, DK Production Group, hook a brother up with some reproduction guns because I will shill. Shameless shill.
All right. Thanks for the shilling, Danny. All right. I think Mark's disappeared again.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
Do you have a list of pet peeves there, Aaron, that you're going off of?
I have been. The K98K is overrated. We've gone to this before.
Hold on. I remember going back to our M1s for a second.
Oh, okay.
Biggest pet peeve are the people that resell the CMP ones for an extra like $600 to $1,000. Like, why on earth are you doing that?
That's a big one for me, man, because I see it all the effing time, all the time. Yeah, it's I just don't get it. It's crazy. Like and they always sell it. They don't even try to cover up the fact that it's a CMP gun. Is the thing?
No, it's the exact same case. All the documents are in it.
Yeah,
in the
they're
photo.
like, hey, look at this. Look, we got the case and the documents. Look at this. This is an official CMP. And I'm like, oh, so it's like just a re-arsenal gun, not original. And you're selling it for $1,000 more than you bought it from the CMP. Oh, and there happens to be 3 of them, which is also the limit that you can buy from the CMP. So that's interesting, little quinky dink, sir. All right, mister. Yeah, I see that. I've seen that all over the place. Like, it's like, to them, it having the case or something, it gives it, I don't get some sort of legitimacy to an M1 if it's from the CMP. Then I don't know. To me, it's a detriment. Like, I would be like, oh, like I would. It's
almost
not
like
advertise.
a Mitchell's Mauser.
Wow, that's a really good analogy. I haven't connected the dots on before. Huh.
I mean, what's the difference? They refurbished it. It's all
Like
mixed parts as far as we know.
I mean, Mitchell's lied and CMP doesn't. But
Are we
they
sure
both...
about that? The government lies all the time.
What? No, they don't, sir. How dare you?
ATF would like to know your location.
They already have it.
Stop saying that. Drink your corn syrup.
Enjoy your high fructose corn syrup. There's nothing else in there. All right. The K98K is overpriced and overrated. We've talked about this before. I mean, there's not much else we can say about it, right?
No. But what we should talk about is the ridiculous prices that people are asking for, like the CAI imported Mosin Nagants at gun shows.
Oh, 9130s, yeah.
Yeah, the
like
9130s.
The refurb, import marked, yeah, ones that are, yeah.
Danny, are they covered in shellac?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. I don't know the number of times I've seen a non-refurb 9130 at a show. Not very often, but they're always,
very,
always
rare.
properly shellacked stocks, sir. The Russians
you
did
have
it.
a 91 that's not shellacked, Danny. Yes, you do.
Do I?
Your Austrian captured one is not shellacked.
Oh no, not. I mean the post. That's a pre-war
I
gun.
said
I mean
91. I didn't say 9130.
Oh, I just didn't know if you were. It's the pride of my collection right here.
Which one is that?
This is my fireball thrower, 1943.
Izzy?
9130.
Is it an Izzy or a Tula?
I don't even know.
Does it speak Russian or does it speak Finn?
What's the symbol, Danny?
Oh yeah. It is a arrow and a triangle.
That's an Izzy.
Faux shizzy?
Faux shizzy. And I'm triggering some people that get upset when I say Izzy.
Oh yeah, some of the purists or whatever, they're like, it's Russia. That's not Izzy. It's not
I'm sorry,
correct.
I can't pronounce it, so I'm going to say the nickname of it.
I got this 9130 because it was super cheap, but also I figured like I need like the old garbage rod to kind of have it like for a comparison, you know. Because if there's ever a video where I need to like give somebody like a gun that just kind of like, you know, it'll sort of slow them down a little bit, give them the old 9130.
Give him the old number 4. Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah, that'd be good. See, that would be a really good one. Yeah, give somebody a number 4 and a 9130, and like correct ammo and clips and everything.
But don't. No, hold on. No.
Start empty.
You give them the ammo loose. You tell them to load the clips.
Oh.
And see what happens.
Well, see, that's really funny. That's like the thing because you're supposed to know how to load the clips. So if they don't know how to load the clips, that's a thing with the rimmed ammo. You got to load the clips just right.
Unless they're, an M block, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, or rimless.
All right, so we'll move on to the next topic. We're just going through here real fast because it is really, really hot in my basement, and I don't have air conditioning down here.
Hot in your basement?
Yeah, it just does get a lot of airflow. It was over 100 degrees today here. It's super humid.
That's crazy. It only got up to like the low 80s here.
No, it was not an enjoyable day. Oh, here's a good thing, Danny. And this is something that you got in trouble for. Just because it's old doesn't mean it's delicate.
Huh.
And you got in trouble for mud testing guns because the mud was going to melt the steel.
Yeah.
Mud does that to metal. It does melt it.
Mud, yeah. So jet fuel doesn't melt steel, but mud melts steel. And so if you get mud on a gun, there's nobody can cite the reason. It just happens. Science has yet to understand how mud melts steel. But if you get mud on a gun, especially if you shoot the gun while there's mud on it, then it will just stuff will happen and gun bad.
I gotta say, your mud test videos were some of my favorites, though. Those and Ian's, the combination of the two, especially when I was looking at first getting a Air 43, I remember that being one of my absolute favorite videos to watch and cry to.
It was the hardest one. Luckily, that was like a repro stock and stuff, so it didn't it'd be a lot harder to do that to a more pristine example than that one, but it did hurt. It sucked cleaning them because I did all three on the same day, and then I had to clean them afterwards. Took a long time to clean all three because I did I did it properly and I detailed stripped them, and made sure everything was oiled and everything, all the ingredient was out. So it's a pain. It's a pain to clean, but it's not going to hurt the gun. You know what I mean? It's not like you're gonna, if you plugged up the barrel with mud. Okay, granted, that any gun, but just a little bit of mud on the action or whatever. It's not that. And they always tested them, like military procurement, like they did that during trials and stuff. It's not an uncommon thing for militaries to do to their rifles, or they just happen to combat or whatever. But yeah, that's something too. But as far as just being fragile, that's kind of, I think some guns have like a reputation of being more fragile than others.
Well, I think a lot of people, people that don't know firearms, like I've had people, or people that don't know Milsurp firearms or older firearms. Like I've been out at the range before, and I have my Chilean 1895, and it's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But if somebody's like, "Oh, can I try that?" and I go, "Yeah, it's 130 years old," they're like, "Oh, well, never mind." I'm like, "Guys, it's fine."
Yeah,
I've had multiple people turn me down to try something because they're afraid of it because of how old it is, and I'm like, it's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Or just they think it's not going to be accurate because it's too old.
I've heard that before too.
Yeah, I get that all the time. It's just not going to be. It's too old. It's not going to be accurate. It's like, well, oh yeah, I mean everything's fine on it. Like the barrel's not shot out. Bolt's fine. It'll be accurate. No, it ain't as accurate as my Remington. My
6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
You're 6.5 Swedish. What the hell is that?
Yeah, they just ripped off 6.5 Creedmoor.
Obviously.
So
obviously, Owen, I know Danny knows this answer. What's the best millimeter?
You guys are gonna hate me for this one.
Well, what is it? Boy. What's the best millimeter, Owen?
It's 8mm.
Oh, you're dumb. It's obviously 7mm.
I gotta admit, I do enjoy shooting the 7mm, especially the Spanish Mauser. That's been incredibly fun, and I'd love to get my hands on an FN49 in 7mm. But all my favorite guns I own are in 8mm. So,
hey, my favorite gun is an M95, and it's an 8x56R, and I still don't think that's the best round to shoot.
If you had to pick a round that you could shoot all day that wasn't 6.5 Swede.
Oh, obviously 7x57. Like, non-stop, all day.
Danny's just like, yep.
Yep.
Danny agrees with me. Danny, I've persuaded Danny away from the trap that is the 6.5 Swedish Mausers.
Yeah, I was really huge into 6.5 for a minute, and I slowly went over to 7. I remember when I used to be a big 8mm fan. I'm not like, I don't not like it, but just kind of like why 7 is just kind of like as good or better in most in most aspects. Maybe
I
not
saw
as
somebody
much.
make an argument that so the evolution of 8mm. So it started as a smokeless cartridge for the Gewehr 88, and then obviously the Gewehr 98. They had some redesigning of the cartridge for the loading, and then also the Spitzer bullets. And then for the K98K, they adopted the machine gun loading, right? Because the World War I load in the K98K produced excessive recoil and flash, right?
I believe so, yeah.
That's from what I'm remembering. So I saw somebody make the argument that the World War II 8mm is actually not good to shoot because it's an MG round and it's just not a fun round to shoot a lot.
I think that's the key is like if you're looking to shoot a lot, yeah, I'd agree. It's that heavy recoil that you're going to get out of it. But if you're just looking, I don't know. Part of me is just like, if you're going to be shooting surplus ammo, why would you be shooting the collectible World War II German ammo?
Oh, well, yeah, but you could find other surplus that's the same loading.
Yeah.
Trying to think.
So to be, I think it's just about that loading. Like Yugo's sort of the big example. That's pretty common ammo still.
The Yugos and the Romanians.
Romanian is a little different, I think, but the Yugo is pretty close to German, I think, as you can get, except it's brass.
And the Turkish is obviously very similar.
Yeah, and even though it's close, you still can't. I feel like I have to say this every time we talk about 8mm. You can't shoot Yugo out of semi-autos, because there's been semi-autos that have gotten blown up from Yugo 8mm
and Turkish 8mm.
And yeah, probably. I don't actually know of any 8mm that have blown up from Turkish 8mm. I know of 2 M1 rifles now that have blown up from Turkish 30-06.
Yes, there's a well-known. I don't know the date range myself because I'm not into those, but there seems to be a well-known date range of specifically, I think it was in the 50s, from like, let's just say 54 through 56. If it's labeled that, do not touch it because the brass is no good. Like they made bad brass and it will have case failure.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things about surplus ammo. You kind of have to know like your years and your batches and stuff like that. Some countries more than others, like Romanian stuff, the 70s surplus, like what I only buy exclusively is the 70s surplus, and it's fantastic. The later stuff is bad. You can find that like in boxes. I forgot the color of the boxes, but that was really kind of popular for a while because it was, just a freshly imported 8mm. And though that was not very good Romanian, which kind of like tainted the waters a bit, which was good for me because I knew the Romanian that, was good. And I bought a bunch of it when I could.
Speaking of bad ammo, remember a couple years ago when there suddenly was an influx of FMAP 765?
Oh, yeah.
And it was
I
all
got some
garbage.
of that. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. It was like 1 in 5, I think, of my stuff went off.
Yeah.
Something like that. I did it at my Kick and Carbine showdown, and it was just not worth it. Forgot how much I paid a round, but it was too much. Even if it was 10 cents a round, it was too much.
I pulled the bullets for you from the stuff we bought together.
Yeah, which would be good.
Well, that stuff was garbage. Legit garbage.
Yep. So as far as shooting, the surplus is not the best. 8mm Lebel surplus is kind of rough, but yeah, I've seen quite a bit of 8mm for sale around, and it's always like surplus, especially bandoliers. You see like the bandoliers of like 8mm at shows that guys are selling, and you can tell by the price of if they know it's Turkish or not. Because if it's expensive, they don't know it's Turkish, they don't get it. But if it's pretty cheap, they're like, yeah, it's Turkish. It's one of those things. But you could shoot a bunch out of it. You could shoot a bunch of 8mm Turkish out of your Mausers, and it won't immediately break the stocks on them, and it'll be fine. Like I shot a bunch of it back in the day.
Let's clarify so Sam doesn't come yelling at me, Danny. The Turkish 8mm is loaded to the German World War I specification, which is the original Gewehr 98 loading, versus the German World War II specification, which is S.S Patron. So it is just S. So there's a difference between the loadings.
Yeah.
The Turkish is a much smaller bullet with a lot of powder behind it. So that's why it has a perception of being hotter. It's just a different loading. It's also why they don't recommend it in your semi-autos, because the semi-autos were not made for that type of loading. They were made for the World War II style.
Yeah, and the case head ruptures is a big thing
Yeah,
with the semi-autos too.
That's just a common thing to be watching out for, and that's why with semi-auto Milsurp stuff, I pretty much, unless it's like well known to be good material stuff, I obviously stick to commercial if you can.
Yeah, commercial if you can, or I trust Romanian 70s.
Load your own, that
semi-autos.
kind of stuff, that thing. But there, especially if you are concerned about it, definitely just ask somebody. Get on Reddit and ask. I'm sure you'll get a lot of opinions.
Oh,
Yeah, ask
absolutely.
on Reddit. That's a good one.
Speaking of Reddit, this is kind of going back towards our topic of the night of pet peeves. But this is a question for you two. What is your pet peeve with the people that are on social media? So not talking about Reddit, more so talking about like Instagram, Facebook. What are some of your biggest pet peeves with those people?
How do you mean, like the regular people or the gun people?
The gun people, the people that are running the accounts. I can think of a couple off the top of my head that I see their posts and I just roll my eyes.
Yeah. I sort of classify collectors into like different groups. You have the newbies, which are like everyone's been the guys of like, hey, I'm super excited, I bought my first Mauser, check it out. That's those sort of guys. And then you have the like a little bit more elitist collector types, which some can kind of be like dickish with the way that they present their information or whatever. Like they can kind of be like snobbies, like Venezuela. You'll get that one, Aaron.
Yeah.
And then you also get like the decent sort of like average Joe collector types. The elitist guys are probably the one that bugs me the most, because I can't stand the attitude from them, pretty much, which is like, whatever I have is better than yours. I know more. I know whatever. I know somebody you don't know. Whatever. So my collection's obviously better. So they just flat out like that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves with some of the online like posters. Second to that, it's the guys that know just enough to be dangerous, and this is in real IRL. Not on Facebook, but I ran into some guys at a local gun shop. They were looking at a M98, a Yugo M98, which is the Yugo captured K98K, like you used to own, Owen. Yep. And they were looking at one, and they were like, they were looking at the barrel, and they went, "Oh, this was built by Century, like Century Arms, because it had an import mark."
No,
yeah, that's what they said, and I was like, "Oh no, that's the import mark. It's not made by Century." They were like, "No, look, it says it right here, Century Arms." I'm like, it's an import mark. It was two kids. They were like early 20s or something. And I'm like, no, that's an import mark. Look at here. This is an actual German gun. They just scrubbed it. They put their little commie stamp on it. They just scrubbed it and put their own commie marks on it. This is a real German Mauser that they captured and just restamped, whatever. And it was like they just kind of politely listened, but you could tell like, no, we know more. This is a Century built gun. We don't want anything to do with this.
Danny, I hate to break it to you, but you become the FUD.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm the boomer that's telling them, I know what I got, Sonny.
Would you not agree, Aaron? Oh, did we lose him?
No, you didn't lose me. Danny already has been a boomer since he became a father, and he wanted to go yell at the kids down the street shooting off fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's a recent thing.
Happens to all of us at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. What's your guys' you asked the question, Owen. What's your bigger what is it? Collector category person peeve?
I guess that'd be a better way to put it. Just because I think most of my interaction, I don't do a lot of in-person interaction. I'm too far away from everybody, really, that does this for a hobby, collecting Milsurps, etc. So almost exclusively my interaction is through Instagram or gun boards or here on the Discord. So I would say one of my biggest pet peeves, it mostly comes from running the Instagram page, is just people who keep asking me if my stuff is for sale and won't take no for an answer. It's just like, please stop asking. I do not want to get banned off of this platform. And there are multiple platforms where they don't allow that type of sale, but Instagram is the one I'm thinking of.
They ask you just on Insta, like they comment it?
Not on the post. If they do, I delete it almost immediately. I don't want Instagram flagging me, and I've definitely been shadow banned. I'm pretty sure for that reason. But I get them in my IMs all the time. There'll be usually, it seems like teenagers or younger guys who just don't know guns at all, and they're like, "Yeah, I want to start collecting. Would you give me yours?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm not doing that on this platform."
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think I've ever gotten that on Insta, at least. It's a little brazen or something, a little sumptuous on their part.
The thing is, they never come out straight and ask. Usually what happens is they'll ask a couple questions about it in general, and then later on they'll ask down the road, like, what would it take for you to part with that? And things like that. But
yeah,
people that aren't aware that basically the government is watching everything that we're posting online. And so you do need to be careful when you are talking about things. And when you tell people, oh, yeah, I bought a parts kit. Well, please don't tell me what you're doing with said parts kit. I don't need to know that information.
Yeah,
I guess it's more of they're oversharing things that they should not be saying at all.
But this also links into the people that we run into sometimes, Danny, on Facebook and stuff, where they're like, I don't understand why people are posting pictures of their guns on Facebook.
No, their collections.
Oh, yeah.
What was that? They was like, I don't understand why people are not just any guns. It was like showing their whole collections.
Yeah.
Like why, you shouldn't show off your collection. You shouldn't let anyone know.
Or they, my personal favorite too, and I know people that do this, is they hide the serial number.
Yeah,
Like,
they cover their serial number.
That's what are you doing? Why are you hiding the serial number of something that was made in 1902?
I heard a rumor, and this was a long time ago. I heard a rumor that when you post things to the internet, Google is keeping a register of all the photos with guns with serial numbers.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Well, if two of us both heard of it, it must be true.
Probably true. Oh boy.
Oh man, what are they going to do with that?
They're going to come after Aaron with all his M95s. They know he doesn't have ammo for them.
But hold
you
on.
don't need those M95s.
But I mean, they've got a picture of the serial. That doesn't mean I still have it, or that it's anywhere else because the serials aren't tracked anywhere.
So
Nobody tracks the serials.
Well, it can be done. There's not an active registry, but
that's
it can
what I
be
mean.
done.
There's no registry even in my state of Illinois. They don't register the serials.
Yeah. Well, it's put on a form and it's kept forever.
If it's transferred that way.
Yeah.
My CNR, I had it in my book, but when my CNR expired, that book goes away.
True.
Hmm.
That's what's going to happen to mine come September. It's just going to disappear.
Sounds like a loophole.
It's really dumb, is what it is.
Incredibly dumb.
Yeah, by the way, Danny, Joel told me that he recommends people that if they have a CNR license to let it expire every 2 years, so you throw your book away and then renew it.
Who is it that did we ask Matt that question when he was on the podcast?
Yeah, he said it was legit, like it's a thing, like it.
He was like, you don't have to keep it forever, but I think he suggested keeping it for like a little while afterwards.
It wouldn't probably be a bad idea to keep it, but legally,
you don't have
CNR holders, which is the FFL 03, you do not have to keep a record of it after the license is expired. It's only while the license is active, and only for firearms that are purchased while the license is active.
Yeah, so I'm looking at. I actually have I got my renewal application in the mail a couple weeks ago. I'm looking at it right now. It says return this application your firearm record within 30 days of discontinuance of your business. Collectors of curios and relics are not required to send their firearm records to the ATF. So it doesn't actually on the form specify what you're supposed to do with it afterwards, but that's just what it says on the form.
Doesn't say what you should do, just says what you don't have to do.
Correct.
You don't have to send it in. That's the legal thing is.
Hmm.
Because if you had an FFL whatever version, you would have to send a copy of your records in.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer CNR stuff is going to stay, because like, there's SP1s and stuff now that are CNR eligible. So
Well, I mean, we're ignoring the elephant in the room, which is the recent New York Constitution case and the ramifications of that, as well as the EPA case in terms of gutting both the ATF and potentially the NFA.
I just heard about that case, the second case, which I don't really understand anything about the EPA Supreme Court ruling.
Basically, in a nutshell, it says that agencies are not allowed to go outside of what Congress legislates them to do. So all this external rulemaking that they do and stuff like that is going to go by the wayside, aka braces and bump stocks, all gone.
That's a potential, obviously.
The last time the ATF thought that they were about to become obscure and get their budget taken away, they started doing some shady stuff.
You talking about that nice little sleepy town in Texas?
That and the family that lived out.
Oh, in the
mountains.
woods.
Yeah, on that ridge.
Yeah.
So
allegedly.
I mean, that last one there was pretty well documented. He got it went to court. Like he sued. He was awarded money because they said, "Oh yeah, our bad. Sorry, we killed your family."
As if that was.
He just died.
Good.
He just died recently, didn't he?
From natural causes.
Totally natural.
Anyway, I think we've kind of.
We got our foil on. You got your foil on, Aaron?
No, it's too hot. All right. Well, I think we probably need to start wrapping it up. I think Mark has disappeared on us.
Alrighty.
We just hit the 2-hour mark, so.
Yeah. So Mark has a lot of really good pet peeves with his, because he's worked in for auction houses and stuff. So he has a lot of experience and he's got a lot of pet peeves. He mentioned it twice on here, but he's a big fan of CZ24s, and so he doesn't like the people that don't think all matching CZ24 as special as it is, because they are pretty. An all matching VZ24 is a lot less common than an all matching K98K. So that's
True.
one of his things. Trying to read when we were just talking about him right before this. Throat erosion worries, as he called it with Garand people.
Yeah. Trying to think about any others.
People terrified of head spacing on Mausers, especially K98Ks. They want the headspace checked on their K98K before they buy it. Let's see. Apparently somebody bought a really rare Gewehr 98 and returned it because it was missing a screw somewhere, like a trigger guard screw or whatever, I'm assuming.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm sure Mark has a bunch. Too bad he couldn't. Too bad his interwebs doesn't work that close. The French Canadians are probably stealing his Wi-Fi's again.
Well, their internet just went down today, across all of Canada.
Where's my tinfoil? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I would say
Interesting.
I can't really think of any other ones. Honestly, I've been since joining this community and getting into this hobby, I've been incredibly impressed with most of the people that I've had interactions with. This is just a great group of people that enjoy history.
Yeah, for the most part too. Yeah, it's been it's a fun hobby. Like the gun people that I meet, for the most part, gun guys are an average crowd of gun guys is going to be a little bit nicer crowd than just an average sample from the broader population or whatever. One of the things I noticed is that I went to some public event that was not gun related or whatever, and people a farmer's market or some crap, and people are just people. And then I went to a gun show afterwards, and people are like, "Oh, excuse me, sir. Oh, pardon me." It was very polite, sort of at the gun show afterwards.
Yeah,
and that was one of the things too. Our community is seems to be kind of good about. There's a little bit more of an underlining,
respect.
Respect for each other, maybe for that the hobby kind of.
Well, you know what they say: an armed society is a polite society.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Especially just the way it seems at gun shows. But Yeah. Oh, there's a really big gun show coming up here in Kansas City on the 16th. I don't know if this podcast will air before July 16th, 2022. But
Well, it's the 18th, according to what Aaron was saying earlier.
oh, is it Aaron? Is it actually the 18th already? He's hot. He passed out, I guess.
I passed out. Yeah, it's the 18th.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I so often like see my pet peeves that it's hard for me to they bother me too much if I focus on them, but I have a lot of gun show pet peeves. Quite a bit of gun show pet peeves.
Okay, I just thought of one more. I hate going into a pawn shop or gun store and I ask them about a gun and they're like, "Well, let me go on Gun Broker and look at that." And they don't look at the previously ended auctions. They look at the current listings. I hate that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this guy's got one. He's asking this much for it, so it's got to be worth that much. Yeah, no, that's. And then you got to explain to them like how the market works when, like, it's when stuff sells. That yeah, that's a little annoying.
Or
There's
even
a lot of
explain
those.
that they don't. Well, actually, this works out better for me. Is like explaining that they don't actually realize what they have and that they should be asking a lot more for it. What was it I saw? I saw a one of the Norwegian 1911s was at a local shop not too long ago, and I think they were asking $800 for it.
Is there anything wrong with it?
No, I just didn't.
Why don't you buy that shit, man?
Because I didn't have the money for it at the time.
Well, I would have bought that in a heartbeat.
I should have. It goes on the list of all the ones that I saw that I should have gotten.
Oh, yeah. Did you told them that it's worth a lot more?
I did. I told because they thought it was what was it? They thought it was a Turkish reproduction of a 1911 for some reason. Apparently, there's some company out of Turkey that's reproducing 1911s, and I just showed them basically a Wikipedia page. I was like, "This is what you have."
Man, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't correct people for that necessarily, unless if you know the shop owner and he's like a good guy. And he's having a hard time, and he's trying to pay for his wife's kidney transplant or something like that. Then, like, yeah, okay, maybe tell him if it's a little underpriced. But like, is buy and run my second. So the Remington Rand we talked about before, that's on my gun wall. That's what my grandfather brought back from the war. So that's like separate. It's always staying with me, sort of thing. But I found another Remington Rand at my honey hole, and I was looking at it because I was like, wait a second. Why is this $600? What the hell's wrong with this thing? And I looked it over, and I'm like, why is this only $600? And that shop owner comes over to me, hey, you're looking at our Remington R1. Like, that's why it's only $600. You think this is a newly made Remington because it says Remington Rand, so he thought it was a Remington R1. I was like, okay, that's why it's. But I don't know. It's like, so it's there as a shop owner. I mean, I don't think you did anything wrong, right? I'll just say that. I don't think you did anything wrong by telling them. But like, part of me is like, it's their job is to sell guns, and so selling guns, they got to know gun prices. So part of it by telling them the gun prices is kind of doing their job for them. And like if you're helping a buddy out or something, or like a friend, like the shop owner or whatever, like that's one thing.
If they're happy selling it for the price that you think is a steal, then why is it a problem?
Yeah. I mean,
that means that the guy that you bought that $600 Remington Rand from, he didn't pay $600 for it.
Mm-mm.
He probably paid $200 for it or $300.
He was out of an estate, so he didn't pay anything for it. He just got a flat commission on that $600, and
yeah, and he didn't make. He might not even set the price.
Oh, he did for sure. I saw.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw him. So there's a couple ladies that work at the shop, and they set the prices based on their Google searches. And they had like an assembly line. They had a whole like tub of pistols, old pistols, and it was one of the ladies was like tagging them, and the other one was like was grabbing them and Googling them, and like deciding on a price and then passing it off and telling her the price, and then she was making a tag for it and whatever. And I was just standing there watching this little assembly process, and I could see the prices as they were written down, and I'd go, oh shit, okay, I'm gonna get that, as it went through. But that's my drug right there. Milsurp deals.
Yeah, about once every 6 months, I'll take an entire Saturday, and I've got this loop that I do through the Western Washington, Seattle area that I do of all these shops. Just make a day out of it.
So you live in? I was going to ask if you lived in Eastern or Western Washington. Yeah.
Western Washington. I live in a little beautiful city called Bellingham.
Ah, I'm gonna have to Google that real quick.
Think upper northwest corner, like literally the most northwest corner that's not Alaska.
Oh, okay, that's a different part. I was thinking of like the peninsula for some reason. Yeah, I've driven through there. I've driven through Bellingham. I'm sure a lot of folks have.
Yeah,
But
this area is really good. We have a ton of not baby boomers. We have a bunch of the greatest generation who all live out in the county, and they're all about to unfortunately start passing away here. And a lot of estates have started coming up for sale, and a lot of good stuff has popped up.
Oh yeah, that's one of those like it's nice to see the guns come up for sale, but hard when you know why. I lived in Tacoma, and there's a lot of good shows kind of in that area. But I drove over up to Port Angeles, so I drove like west and up the little peninsula up to Port Angeles to Victoria, and then took a ferry to Vancouver, and then went down Vancouver through Bellingham. Oh, that's good. So do you go to Leavenworth much, or is that like
That's a favorite place of mine.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot too.
Yeah, Leavenworth is great. The Germantown and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine opening like a German-themed World War II shop over in Leavenworth? You do so much business.
I don't know if they would let you do like World War II German stuff. I think they're trying to forget. They're trying to forget like 1933 to 1945.
They can try.
Yeah. But I went there on Christmas and then for Oktoberfest.
Yeah, the Oktoberfest is a lot of fun. I usually get out there.
Oh man. My wife got the X on her hand, like she got cut off at Leavenworth.
It does happen to the best of us.
She had like 2 beers, and I was in a porta potty. I walk over this. We're not even talking about guns anymore. Well, I just walked over to the porta potty, and so she was like, she needed to ask me a question, and so she just came over and she like knocked on the porta potty, and she's like, "Hey, blah blah blah," and I was like, "What?" And then I didn't hear anymore, and I go out, and she's like standing there with her head down, and there's like 2 officials. And they're like drawing big X's on her hands, and they're taking a wristband and stuff. And I was like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "They X me, like so they have like literal like beer Nazis or whatever walking around Oktoberfest, and if anybody's acting rowdy in the slightest, they get X'd, and they can't drink any more beer." So I was like, "We just paid, we just got in." She had like 2 beers, like she's not drunk, jeez. But
yeah, they're pretty strict about that.
Yeah, they really are. I was really surprised. I've been like, dude, we've been way more drunk in public than this. Like, this is not
good times though.
Yeah, it's worth it, man. I miss the shows. I'm trying to think where the shows were that I went to, but yeah, all around. There's a few in the old Tacoma area. I don't think there's too many up by Seattle actually, but like
no, they're either far
Tacoma.
down south or far up north. We got one up here in Linden that's pretty good. And then,
yeah.
Anytime I think it's the shout out to the Western Arms Collector Association. They do a really good job with their shows. They're huge. The Puyallup show. I don't know if you ever went to that one.
Oh, yep.
That last time I went, they had 2 floors, and who knows what it's going to look like this next one with the magazine ban in place now. I'm curious to see how that's going to affect the shows, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I need to get to one. I think I'm probably going to get to one here in the beginning of August. I think that's the next time I'm going to get to one.
Hey, check this out. Can you see my
there you go.
That is my Washington Arms Collectors member ID.
Yeah, they stopped giving out actual. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I've got an actual card somewhere, but they say you can prove your membership by just bringing the magazine that they produce, and it's got your membership on the back of it, and so you can bring that in to substitute for your ID card.
Yeah, did they still do it where like when you get that, then you don't? I know they weren't doing like when you buy that because you have to get a background check to get that. So then it's almost like a weird like it's like a FOID, kind of like a firearm owner's ID. Get a background check to get that, and then you don't need another background check if you have that.
Like you still have to, especially I think after I don't know, were you around when 1649 went through or whatever it was?
I just moved.
So after that, basically, like what I've had to do is I still have to have copies of my CNR when I'm buying stuff at the shows. And they do have like an entire table set up to doing the NICS checks, and they've contracted with local shops to hold on to any semi-autos that are bought at the show. that those shops will be the ones who hold on to while the mandatory 10-day background check is being done.
SMH.
Yeah,
I think I left like right in time.
Yes,
I
you
think
did.
after all that. Jeez. The height of the heyday.
The
My
height of it.
last gun show in Washington I went to, there was just tables full of amazing stuff. But I went over and there was a last stitch Arasaka with one of the last stitch bayonets, which was like the crude bayonet with the bamboo sheath, and
Oh,
capture
yeah?
papers. And it was $700 for all of it. And I was
That
like,
is a
well,
steal.
it's like, well, crap. Okay, I'm buying that. So I bought that, and then I go over to another table, and he has SMLEs. They're $250 a piece. He's got a Lithgow. He's got like a GRI. He's got like a BSA, just like whatever you want, $250 a piece. And I was just like what? Like what? What is this? I only had the money for one of them, but I bought one of the SMLEs, and then like another show I went to in Washington, there's a table, and he had 3 K98Ks. It was a Russian capture, a Balkan capture, and then just a complete mismatch gun. And it was like I think I bought them $200 a piece, something like that, like all 3 for $600.
Gone are those days.
That was 2018, man. That wasn't even that long ago. I don't understand, but that's very common when I was in Washington, stuff like that. And I've never found it anywhere else. I went to shows because I used to travel from my job quite a bit more than I do now, and I'd go to gun shows in other states and stuff, and just not something about Washington, man. If you still got those deals, live it up.
Every once in a while, I think, what was it that I picked up? Oh shoot! Oh, it was my Pattern 14 Enfield in 303. I picked it up for $400
Nice with the volley sights.
with the volley sights.
Oh yeah, there's your deal right here.
Yeah, it was part of a package deal. That's also the guy I got my Gewehr 3340 from.
Yeah,
But still, he had it just sitting out on a table, and he had the prices posted pretty low, and I didn't understand why they were still sitting there, because I showed up like second day, probably halfway through the day.
It was, I don't get it. Yeah, I know. You didn't have to necessarily get there super. Like the deals were just there.
Yeah.
I left a gun show one time, man. I had it was the one where I think it was the one where I got the K98Ks, and I got like a Dutch M95. My Dutch M95, I bought it in Washington. I left with a literal like bundle. I had like a bundle of like rifles on my arms, like 5 or 6 or whatever. It's the only time I've done that. No cases or anything, and I'm just like walking out of the gun show like I'm carrying firewood, and people are just like looking at me like, "What?" And I'm like, why is this not everybody? I don't understand. But
I don't understand either. I would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah. I missed a Danish or a Norwegian Krag that was like $750, I think. I didn't know much about him at the time, so I didn't buy it. A G24T that was $450. Again, I didn't know much about it. I had no idea what the prices were. I just remember being like, "Oh, that's interesting." So many deals that I missed on there, but yeah, let me know. Send me some pictures or whatever the next show you go to, if you find any good deals, man. I just want to see them.
Oh, I definitely will post them.
Yeah, cool. We probably digressed enough for one podcast.
I think so.
All right. Well,
Sweating his
thank you
balls
for
off
coming, Owen. As always, Owen is a member of our Patreon, and if you are a member of our Patreon, it does not matter what tier you are. You can come on the podcast if you so desire. You just have to message Danny, and we will get you on there. It's a pretty decently long list, though, currently, isn't it, Danny?
Yeah, there's only a couple. It's actually not as long as I thought it was. I have like a lot of no replies when I reached out, so you probably get on pretty not too long right now.
Anyway.
Well, if you want to put me back on the list at the very bottom, be more than happy to come on again. This has been a blast. Aaron, Danny, thank you guys so much for having me on here.
Of course.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah, thanks for coming on. Yeah, it was a great podcast. A little rambly, but I think that's just par for the course now for us.
Everybody knows us.
Yeah.
That or you guys stay on M95s for a solid hour.
I can talk about them for so long.
See, Danny, you need to find your equivalent that you can talk about, or is it that you can talk about the?
I have an equivalent.
It's the Swedes.
I have 16 Swedes. So that's my M95
Yeah,
equivalent.
so he has more than I have M95s. He has more Swedes than I have M95s. So everybody makes fun of me for being a pattern collector, while Danny over here has 4 more than me.
Yeah. Kind of
Good
got
times,
out of them
though.
a little bit too much, but
You got some rare ones too, though.
a couple that aren't super common. Yeah. I wouldn't say rare because that word
Well,
is
we love that word. That's another pet peeve.
rare. I
That's
like
another
my
pet
guns
peeve.
like I like my steak.
Rare.
Yeah.
Rare, not Mauser, not Lee Enfield.
Well, it's like, okay, they made 8,000 of this year M96 and they made like 3,000 of this one, but it's 10% of the 3,000, so it's like
Even smaller group. I think
Yeah.
honestly, the most rare gun I've owned in terms of just production numbers is probably when I had an Albanian SKS, just because they only brought in 5,000 of those into the United States.
Oh yeah. I had one for a little while. Yeah. I post-war stuff just doesn't stick around long for me. Like I'm like, "Oh cool, it's rare," and I get it, and then I'm like, I don't know why post-war stuff. I just
Yeah,
don't keep as much, but
that's how
yeah,
I
it is
feel about
cool.
my SLR.
Yeah.
I got to get some Rhodesian shorts to go with that, though. Get a good picture.
Oh boy. There you go. I think we were just talking about that, Aaron. And the Rhodesian fowl
Oh yeah,
stuff.
baby poop. Danny
All
knows
right.
what that looks
Yeah,
like.
yeah, I
He's
do. If
got
you need some,
legit.
I got some legit stuff.
I'll keep that in mind.
All right. Thanks, guys, for coming, and we'll talk to you later. It looks like the guys down below are doing trivia night. If you guys want to head down there.
Oh, neat. Okay.
So,
I'm going to get off for the night, but thanks again, guys. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. Can't wait to hear this.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Owen.
Thank you, everybody.